So there are material and political factors, but I want to stress the difficulties of secularization. And here I think there are two answers to the question, what went wrong, which may seem inconsistent, but actually stand together. First, the fierceness and absolutism of the secular militants, the top-down quality of their work, and then the internal weakness of secular culture. The idea of radical newness nicely symbolizes the fierceness. There is an extraordinary literature in each of the countries about the new Jew, the new Algerian, the new Indian. And the militants of national liberation rejected everything that was old, everything which, according to them, made for weakness, passivity, fearfulness, and accommodation with foreign rulers. The traditional religion was the central culprit. Newness was identified with secular strength and vitality, with activism, self-confidence, and above all, self-help. There was also supposed to be a new culture that went with the new men and women. Remember the effort of the French revolutionaries to create a new culture, a new calendar, unfortunately 10 days with only 1 day of rest, which wasn't very smart. A new calendar, civic oaths, a festival of reason, much, much more. But it didn't take, not in 1789 and not in 1848 either. It took French secularists 120 years before the definitive separation of church and state, which happened in France in 1905. The liberationists did better culturally, I think. New holidays, new heroes, songs and dances, poetry, novels. And it all worked pretty well for a generation or two, and then it didn't work, or didn't work well enough. It was all too thin, too artificial, compared to the traditional religion. One example which has struck me, not only in visiting Israel and India, but also here in the United States, the old religion marked the life cycle, providing occasions and ceremonies of celebration for the birth of a child, for the coming of age of a child, for marriage. And then it provided rituals of mourning for people dealing with the death of loved ones. Secularists didn't do well with any of these moments. And so even people who have no religious faith continue to celebrate these occasions and look for religious rituals because there is no alternative. I don't mean that some of the secularists didn't try, but it just has not worked very, very well. I remember my own experience here, the funeral of a Jewish atheist, leftist, where nobody knew what to say or when to cry. It doesn't work, and so in all of these countries, the familial practice of the traditional religion continued, even while secularism was triumphant in the political world. So I argue in the book for a liberationist engagement with the traditional religion. It would have to be a critical engagement, but it has to be an engagement. It can't be a negation. It can't be a denial. That seems to me a moral requirement and a democratic requirement if some kind of secular democratic culture is to be achieved. Let me give one example of that effort. Consider the organization, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, it's quite a remarkable organization called Women Living Under Muslim Laws. WLUML, it's not a great acronym. Women Living Under Muslim Laws is an organization that is active across North Africa and also among the Muslim minority in India. I should say the Muslim minority is 120 million people. So the WLUML is an activist organization. It's an alliance of both secular and religious Muslim women who search in religious texts for arguments against the gender hierarchy and who find them, and then who defend gender equality within the religion of their people. Something similar has been going on in the Jewish world, where feminist scholars are producing some wonderful new readings of biblical and Talmudic texts. A recent book, a quite wonderful book by Uma Narayan called Dislocating Cultures, argues for a similar effort among Hindu women. Maybe this sort of thing wouldn't have worked early on. Maybe the first liberationists had to be absolute in their rejection of religion. But I think that this kind of engagement may be the best way of responding now to the religious zealots.